Hey friends, welcome back to Chem Undressed. I am Chem. Today we are undressing parental relationships. Now, before I start, let me say, excuse any sort of background noise that you might hear. My dog just got up to drink some water, and she has this tag on her collar, and it jingles a little. So if you hear that, it's just my doggy. If you hear scratching, that's just my doggy. If you hear screaming, those are just the children next door. Okay. Speaking of children learn what they live, right? Your children are learning to love by watching you. How you make your partner feel, like how you make your partner feel special is how they're going to make their partner feel. Even how you speak to one another. Now, I'm not married. I don't have children, but I was once a child to a married couple. I'm speaking from experience and observations on my own life and those around me and even strangers. I am not a family counselor by any means. So, growing up, I saw how my parents loved each other and hate each other. I saw how my mom treated my dad. I saw their lack of affection for one another. I also saw how they made sure food was prepped or already made for each other when they come home from work. What I'm saying is, your children are watching you. They are learning from you. How they see you act with your partner is going to be part of their mold. And those are actually some things I had to unlearn, and I'm still unlearning them as an adult. I watched how my parents handled disagreements. There was yelling, a lot of yelling, mostly from my mom's mouth. My dad usually sat there quietly, but I knew he was also angry. The thing is, my dad was a nice man. He didn't like confrontation, but sometimes he bottled up his feelings, and which a few times I watched his feelings explode. It led to more screaming and things breaking. Now, they never physically hurt each other in any way or ever wanted to. But I just remember the feeling that I used to get as a child. I knew when a fight was about to start. Like, I could feel the tension in the room. And the breathing. Remember the breathing, usually from my mom. I can feel the heat that's burning from my mom. I felt like, after a while, I started to mentally prepare myself for what is about to happen. And then, next thing you know, she's yelling about whatever the fuck she's yelling about. And my dad is just sitting there like, why are you yelling at me? Like, I didn't do anything wrong. I knew I need to go to my room. Let me go hide in my room, sit on my bed with all my plushies and my pillows, my blankets. And I remember how I felt. I was scared. I was so scared. I remember shivering under my blanket. I remember curling up in bed because I was scared. You never want to see your parents upset, especially with each other. Now, I knew I did nothing wrong. I know there are some kids, when they hear their parents fight, they think that they did something wrong. I never felt that way at all. Because I knew it wasn't me. Then there are times where my parents would wait till I'm tucked in a bed and sleeping before they start arguing. But I knew before I would go to sleep that something was wrong, like the vibe was off. So then I would just pretend to fall asleep. And so I closed my eyes. My mom shuts the door, or my dad, whoever. And then the arguments start. And like any argument, it usually starts, a little, I wouldn't say calm, but the voice is a little lower and it gets louder and louder and louder. It's been 30-something years, maybe a little over 30 years, since all those fights happened. And I still remember how I felt. I had to unlearn all of that as an adult. In my own relationships in my 20s, I found myself behaving like my mother in an argument with my dad. All the unnecessary yelling. What for? She got mad at small, petty things. And so did I. Because I saw my mom get upset over those petty things. And I learned that maybe I should get mad about those little things too. Which is kind of stupid. Now I am in my late 30s. I've unlearned and I've been taming myself when I'm upset. Now, I still have to work on it, but I will say at least I recognize the problem and I am working on it. Where some people are just the way they are. They'll never change. Now, if I'm upset, I'll start with my lower voice. Calmly, just trying to have an adult conversation about whatever the situation is. How I'm expressing my feelings, if somebody hurt me in some way, or if I disagree with how they are behaving towards me. So I try to have a normal adult conversation. Let's talk about this. I want to talk about my feelings. And so I'm a little calm, but my voice is kind of stern. Then after a while, it's like when that other person isn't really listening to me or responding to me, that's where it gets annoying. Like, I'm not trying to pick a fight. Okay, maybe I am, but mostly no, because I rather express my feelings than sit there quietly and bottle up my feelings and just stay hurt and continue to be hurt. Because I want this person to know, hey, what you did there hurt me. So maybe work on that in the future so you don't hurt my feelings and, whatever, right? Feelings. And sometimes, when they're just not listening, right? They're not saying anything. It gets a little frustrating. At least for me, it does. Some people just walk away from it. But I'm just like, I've learned to walk away from it, okay? But there are times where I think my feelings are so amplified that I do start to raise my voice. And then I express my feelings, like my angry feelings, by yelling. I know. And that's when I see my mother come out of me. And I hate it. I hate it because I don't want to be that way. But like I said, that's something I'm working on. And it's taken me all of my adulthood to try to work on this. It's been a long time. Now, I don't think being louder is going to make me be heard. I know that. So afterwards, after I'm done yelling, I cry. And then I calm down some. And then I think about the situation and how to handle it differently. Or if it is something I can let go and move on. I don't stay mad. I try not to stay mad. And I know with my mom, when she's mad, she'll be mad for months to years to a lifetime. And I know with me, if I'm mad, why waste all this energy to be mad every day about whatever this petty situation is? My parents weren't very lovey-dovey, and that was normal for me. That was normal for me in most of my adulthood. They never hugged or kissed or said I love you in front of me, never held hands, never complimented each other, never anything. So as an adult in my own relationships, I lacked those things as well. But then somewhere inside of me long for those type of affection. I wanted to feel what it's like to be loved properly. Now, in my late 30s, I don't feel like I was ever loved properly or ever loved someone properly. Like, does that make sense? Does that make sense at all? I mean, all of this got me all fucked up. Now I feel like no one is ever going to love me the way that I should be loved. And I'm afraid I won't be able to love someone the way they should be loved. And I know y'all are thinking, that's so silly, Kim. Really? You are capable of loving? Yes, I know. But why does my brain think this way? Is it because of my childhood? How I grew up? What I watched in my household? Is that why I think this way? I don't know. I should talk to my therapist about this, huh? Then I watched how my parents always made sure food was prepped or already cooked before either one gets home from work. For example, my dad worked night shift and my mom worked day shift. During the day, my dad would prep the ingredients for dinner. And then when my mom comes home, all the ingredients are ready for her to cook. And sometimes my dad goes ahead and cooks for her if he has the capacity to. Then every now and then, my mom would bring him his hot dinner to work. And we would just sit there with him at work. So there was this job that my dad had. Every time they went on break, they all went outside. There were picnic tables. There was like a little pond with turtles would swim in. We would go visit my dad around 8 o'clock. That's when he had his dinner break. And we would bring him his dinner and his drink. And we would sit there and, accompany him while he eats dinner. That was a fond memory. I liked doing that. And then when he was done, we'd take the dishes back home and I would wash them. Now, if we didn't bring him dinner, he would come home from work with dinner already made. My parents looked out for each other like that. So in my adulthood, when I'm done with work, I never rested. I was in the kitchen prepping and cooking dinner so that when my partner comes home from work, he has this delicious warm meal ready for him. Man, he had it good, right? I mean, who wouldn't want that? Well, anyway, I just thought it was normal to do this. And some people are like, depends on a household, but in some households, that's not normal. And also, not married. I was doing wifely duties without being a wife. I saw the ups and downs of my parents' marriage. I saw their unhappiness, how unhealthy it was. But you see, it was all normal to me. They settled. They stayed together for the kids. As an adult, I settled, but luckily no human kids. All the wrong things that happened in my relationship was just normal to me when it really shouldn't be. So with that said, do you believe that couples should stay together for the sake of the children? In my opinion, again, not married, no kids, I think it does more harm than good. You see, when they are older and they find themselves unhappy in their relationship, and no matter how they try to work it out, nothing is going to make it better. But then they have kids. They don't want their kids to feel like they are going to grow up in a broken home if both parents are not together. Well, when you think about it, staying together unhappily can also cause a broken home. So let's say you stay together with your spouse for the kids, but your relationship with your partner is so toxic. It's so fucked up. Like, wouldn't that be a broken home right there? In my opinion, I think it is. You're teaching your kids to just settle with what they already have, regardless of how they feel. Oh, we're married. I guess we're stuck together for life. Well, so while staying together may seem like the easier option in the short term, long term, I think it can lead to resentment, unhappiness, and modeling unhealthy relationship dynamics. Listen, I'm no counselor. I have no advice. I'm just talking. I'm just undressing my feelings and my experience on this. This is something that's been on my mind for a while. I see people going through divorce with kids, and I know it's a hard decision for them. I've never been through it, but I can somehow understand it. I grew up with friends whose parents got a divorce, and it was hard for them at first, but eventually they adjusted, and they're happier. Now, I'm not telling every unhappy married person to go out and get a divorce. Try to work it out first. Therapy or something. Speak to a counselor. I really have no advice. And don't listen to me. But what's the point of this podcast? Whatever. Anyway, so before I go, I do have some questions. How can parents who have... Okay, let me try to word it again. How can parents who have experienced unhealthy relationships in their own childhood break the cycle and create a positive environment for their kids? I don't have an answer to that. That's why I'm asking. So if you have an answer or you've experienced this, you've gone through this yourself, I would like to know. Another question would be, what role does therapy or counseling play in helping parents improve their relationship dynamics and model healthy behavior for their kids? Do we got any counselors or therapists out there listening? I would love to have some guests on in a future episode who would want to open up about their experience in how they handle disagreements and how they treat each other and how they see that in their children. And then I also want to talk to people who have gone through a divorce, who decided that staying together for the kids is just not worth it for anyone. If you're open, send me a message. Remember, your children are learning to love, how to love by watching you. How you act with your partner leaves the biggest impact. And this is coming from an unparent and unmarried person. So, yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one. I know my solo podcasts are kind of weird. To me, it's kind of weird because I have nobody to talk to. I'm just talking to myself and hope that somebody out there is going to listen to me. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for listening. Hey, follow me on Instagram as well, at ChemUndressed. I would love to hear from you. So I'll catch you in the next one. Love you. Bye.